I never thought that I would get to this point of making this video. I used to always worry about what people thought of me and would try so hard to live by society's standards. Then I realized that I was created to be different, and regardless of what I did, I would never fit in. So I decided to follow my dreams instead. Join me on this journey as I grow in my faith, go through the ups and downs of pharmacy school, and most importantly, being God's masterpiece. So if a lot of you have watched my channel from the beginning, you all know that I dealt with a really tough heartbreak prior to starting pharmacy school, and it was just so hard for me, and I was dealing with it for a really long time. I'm happy to say that God has truly healed my heart. One of my dear friends shared a testimony with me about how God was truly faithful and how He orchestrated some events in her life so perfectly that worked for her. I'm trying not to go too much into detail because you're gonna hear that story eventually. When she was telling me the story, I was just like, are you serious? And it was such a beautiful reminder that God is faithful. It was such a beautiful reminder that God is taking care of everything. And as she was talking, something in my heart just clicked. Like, I don't know what it was, but like an inward healing just happened. Donicia, why are you stressing over your past relationship? Why are you still holding on to a lot of that hurt? Don't you see that God is faithful? Can't you see from this testimony how faithful I am and that I'm going to take care of everything? God, you're right. You are 110% right. And God is probably in heaven like, yes, I know. I gotta let this go. And literally in that moment, I did. And y'all, it was such a freeing moment. Like, I texted my friend the next day and I was just like, I don't think you understand how powerful sharing your testimony was. Like, literally the next day, because I woke up and I prayed and I was just like, God, I get it. I get it now. It makes sense. I was literally crying as I was texting her. I was just like, I don't think you understand how God truly healed me through your testimony. Like, I'm like bawling my eyes out, like, thank you so much. And she was just like, of course, I don't want you to think that it was just that one testimony that kind of just did everything. There were a lot of steps leading up to that. So I just want to talk about some of the applications that I implemented in my life. The first thing was realizing that the relationship was over for good. I think that one of the things that was hardest for me and that kind of prolonged my healing was believing that things could work out in the future. And I know I always talk about this and I always tell y'all, do not believe that foolishness. Nah, nah, nah. But yet there was still a part of me that was holding on and that was believing that things could work out in the future, that things could get better. Maybe we just have to go our separate ways and, figure things out and then come back together. But thinking like that can be very dangerous because that may not be the case. It was really important for me to get to a point of realizing this is never happening. This person is no longer in your life and they will not be in your life anymore. It sounds really harsh, but you have to let your brain and your heart know that. Your heart will be holding on to, even if it's a small piece of hope, thinking like, okay, this maybe could work in the future. No, you have to demolish that little ounce of hope because you will hold on to it and you will start believing that lie. You will start believing that things could work out in the future, especially if God has not shared that with you. Now, I know everyone's story is different, everyone's case is different, and God could have shared with you that this person is going to be the person that you marry, but right now you can't be together for whatever reason. Only if God has confirmed and shared that in your heart. And I think that can get really tricky sometimes where we think we hear God, but sometimes we're hearing our own thoughts. Sometimes we're just hearing what we want to hear and not what God is trying to tell us. What I'm trying to say is, if God has not confirmed with you that this person is going to be the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, then it is not healthy for you to think that things could work out in the future. So the first thing is to just kind of get that out of your mind. And this took a while for me, like a year. It hit hard because when you get to that realization, it's like the pain just happens all over again. When you allow your heart to know that, that's when true healing can start to happen. So the next thing I would say is to reflect, and not too much, because this can cause, like, old memories and all this stuff, and you don't need to be thinking about that all the time. But I had to do a self-reflection, and I had to realize, what I needed to work on in my life. Where I had to sit and think to myself, okay, Donicia, what is it that you want in life? I used to have this idea that I would just go to school, get my degree, I get in a relationship, we get married, we have kids, and we just go with the motions. And I was just like, when did I ever consider enjoying my life? Not saying that having kids and a marriage isn't enjoying life, but when did I, find my purpose in that little storyline? Like, when did I figure out what I wanted to do for me? There's a whole life that we're living now before getting in a relationship, and I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in the idea of a relationship or a marriage or of whatever the case may be, just because we fear loneliness, not realizing that in this time of singleness, we can be doing so much. Our ultimate goal in life is not to just be married, but it's to serve God. What is your purpose? What is your calling? The relationship had to end because it needed to push you into your purpose. And that was so hard to realize, because I was just like, wow, like, I really didn't know my purpose before that. If it wasn't for the heartbreak, Be His Masterpiece would not be what it is today. In reflecting, I realized that there were some standards that I didn't require, or that there were some standards that I didn't have, that I feel like are really important to me. One of the big standards that I realized that I desire is someone who is intentional. Even when I heard the testimony that just like healed my heart, that was also something that was just so apparent, was intention. Someone who won't have you guessing where you stand in their life. If someone makes you anxious or just uneasy about like where you stand in their life, they've already given you an answer a long time ago with their actions. They've already told you that you are not a priority in their life and that you are an option. I'm not saying that he has to be perfect, or like, fellas, like, you don't have to require perfection, but just someone who doesn't have you confused or who has you guessing. In 1 Corinthians 14 verse 33, it says, God is not the author of confusion. And that really stuck with me when I was thinking about all of this. And I was just like, wow, if you're confused, if you don't know where you stand in their life, you need to run. You need to run so fast and so far, because it is not going to end well. And God is probably not within that relationship if you are constantly confused, and if you're constantly stressed, and if you are constantly anxious. Like, God is probably not in there, because He's not the author of confusion. And another standard that I realize that I truly desire is someone who exemplifies the fruits of the Spirit. And that is love, joy, peace, kindness, patience, faithfulness, goodness, self-control, gentleness. That should be a desire for all of you in someone, is to have someone that exemplifies the fruits of the Spirit. The standards that you require of someone should be the same standards that you require of yourself. We can't just say like, well, I want you to have this, and you don't even practice that. You don't even have self-control, but you want someone that has self-control because you want someone to do it for you. That's not how it works. Standards are really important to have. Don't enter a courtship or a marriage if you don't have any standards, because if you don't stand for anything, you will fall for everything. So some advice that I can give. I was hesitant to talk about some advice because when I watch other videos, I'd be like, that's not gonna work. That doesn't help. This is just some advice that really worked for me, and hopefully it can work for you too. First thing I would say is, don't try to seek closure from that person. I feel like closure is just a word that people use as an excuse to meet up with the person. I know people told me all the time, like, oh, you feel this way because you need to seek closure, like you need closure. And I was like, I hate that word. I literally hate that word. I was just like, because I tried to seek closure and it did not work. The actual attempt was fine, but it wasn't until afterward I was just like, that didn't do anything. That made things worse, actually. It tries to like open up that door again to see if things could possibly work out. And what I'm learning is that when God closes the door, just leave it closed. It is up to him whether he wants to open that door again or close it. But it is not up to that person. And we cannot put our hope in man, but we have to put our hope in God. Just open up the wound again, and on both ends, like not just like on my end, but like I just feel like it's opened up the wound and it didn't make anything better. But I'm not saying that closure isn't important. Closure is very important. You need to seek closure from God. He's the only one that can suture that wound for you. He's the only one that can cause true healing. Seek out God. Don't seek out the person, because it will only open up that wound. The next thing I will say, and this was hard for me. So many people say this, and it's true. It's very true. Do not social media stalk. Some of y'all are probably like, ooh, how she know my life? I know, because I was there. For a very long time, I social media stalked, and I don't know why we do this. Why do we do this? Please, someone tell me. I'm trying to understand. It did not make me feel better. It made me feel worse at times. And it just kind of just stops you from moving forward. Instead, it causes you to run back. And you don't want that. So, don't social media stalk. Like, honestly, you're not missing out on anything. Even if that person does move on, like, you have to understand that that person wasn't for you in the first place, and you have to just trust that God is doing a good thing in your life, a new thing. You know, he wants better for you, and he wants better for your ex as well. So don't try to social media stalk them, because it's not going to make you feel better. And honestly, I know it's hard, and it was so hard for me. I had to talk to my friends about it, and I was just like, okay, y'all, I'm struggling with this, and I cannot stop checking his social media. And they were like, okay, yeah, no, we're gonna hold you accountable. And they did, and I thank God for that, because it really helped me to not go on there and to not check. If you're struggling with it, don't be embarrassed. Tell your friends about it, because they will really help you. One thing that I would say is, don't speak badly about your ex. This is not okay. Your ex is still God's masterpiece, and you have to know that they are just as much as his child as you are. So that doesn't give you the right to, you know, say negative things about them. Like, that's not nice. That's not fair. I fell into this, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You never know. It could get back around to that person and just make them feel bad and hurt them. And you don't want to do that. It's such a natural response to hurt someone back who hurt you. God is still doing good things in their life, even though you don't want him to. But he is. And, you know, true healing comes when you accept that. And when you accept that they are God's masterpiece, and he's doing great things in both of your lives. So the next thing that I would say is, forgive them and forgive yourself. It didn't take me a long time to forgive him, but it just took me a long time to forgive myself. I was constantly crying out to God, like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't pay attention to the red flags. I'm so sorry I didn't listen, you know. But you can't beat yourself up, because God is still working that brokenness for your good. You know, the breakup pushed me into my purpose. And I'm just like, wow, like, if this didn't happen, you know, where would I be right now? So, you know, forgive them, and most importantly, forgive yourself. We all make decisions that we regret. From that one decision, I feel like so many other things happen, cause all of this drama and pain and hurt, and things happen that I never thought would. God is still working, and he is using that pain. He's using that catastrophe for your good, whether you believe it or not, whether you see it or not. But try to change your perspective to just remember that. Now, this is gonna be a hard one for some people. This is a little tricky. I saw so many mixed things on the internet. People told me all these different things, like it and that is being friends after the breakup. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I couldn't do it. I tried to be friends. I tried to push past my hurt, and it was too hard for me. I didn't ever want to get to a point where I would get jealous or envious. And I feel like it's really hard if you've had feelings for someone, and especially if you dated, to go backwards and to just be friends. I know some people can do it. Sorry fellas, but I think that it's easier for guys to do it than it is for girls, but I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Some of you might be fine. Some of you might be able to be friends with no strings attached, and it's fine. However, something that I considered and something that I want you to consider, think about your future spouse. Do you think that they will be comfortable with you being friends with an ex significant other? And even if they seem like they are, I don't want to give the enemy a little hole to ease his way through, you know, to plant comparison, to plant jealousy, to plant envy in my spouse's heart. You know, and I kind of was thinking, I'm just like, okay, like if I have a spouse and he's good friends with his ex, someone that he had feelings for, would I feel comfortable with that? And to be honest, I wouldn't. So kind of think about your future. Like, I don't want to have that door even built. Because if the door is not built, the enemy can't find its way through it. Think about that when trying to decide whether you want to be friends with your ex or not. Like, I'm not saying to not be cordial. Like, of course, be cordial. I have nothing but love and respect for my ex. And if I ever see him, like, hey, how are things going? Like, genuinely asking that. But nothing beyond that. I think it's important to keep it strictly cordial. So another thing that I want to address for those of you who are dealing with heartbreak, for those of you who are just hurting after the breakup, I was just like, no one's checking for me. No one is even looking at me. Like, no one is trying to take me out. Like, I feel like I'm a pretty girl. I love Jesus. Like, hello. Like, fellas, where you at? And I feel like a lot of us can get to that point. And fellas, I feel like you feel the same way. Am I still single? So this was hard for me. And this is what made the heartbreak pain last so long, because I was constantly thinking to myself, like, I'm going to be single forever. This was the only guy that liked me. And no other guy's going to like me, because it's been like years and no one's ever been interested in me. So I was constantly holding on to that hurt, because I was just like, wow, like this is the only guy that liked me. So there's no one else. And that's not true. That is not true. I remember I was watching a sermon online by Amanda Pittman. It was really good. And she said, when you are priced higher, fewer can afford you. And man, when I tell you, that hit me so hard, because I was like, oh snap, I am a prize. I am God's masterpiece. I am a treasure. When you are priced higher, when you know your value, when you know you are worth more, fewer can afford you. The value that you're at is not what everyone can have access to. You don't just want any and anyone to have access to this prize, because you are of so much value. So I think that's something that's really important in dealing with heartbreak and in moving forward, you know, to kind of dispel those thoughts that constantly tell you that you are not good enough, that you're going to be single forever, and that you need that person because they were the only one that liked you. They were the only one that had feelings for you. They were the only one that gave you attention. So just because you're not getting the attention that you want, just because people aren't asking you out left, right, front, and center, does not mean that something is wrong with you. It just means that God has this beautiful covering over you. So not everyone can see you, but only who needs to see you will. Be intentional. Be intentional about who has access to your heart. Don't just fall for any and anyone just because you want to get past this heartbreak. That's not getting past heartbreak. Only God can cause true healing. And when I tell you, it is the best healing to have, because when I heard that testimony, my heart was truly healed. Like, y'all, that click just happened, and it was just like, wow. I can't even explain it, because it was just like, it's been years. For years, I was praying this prayer. God, take this pain away. God, help me get through this. And it was not happening. I felt like it wasn't happening. But until I heard that testimony, until I realized that God is going to do it, that God is faithful, I was like, wow, okay, this is how it works. I have to trust God with my everything. I don't want you to feel like you're gonna be in this pain forever. I truly want you to seek God for your healing because He's gonna do it. Trust me, y'all, I have the journal entries where I gave up. I gave up and I was like, you know what, this is just a pain that I'm gonna have to live with for the rest of my life. And that's not what He desires for you. He desires for you to be free from that heartbreak. He desires for you to truly have healing. When you let God do it, He is thorough. Don't get me wrong, there are still thoughts and there are still memories. And whew, the enemy tried it. Ooh, the enemy tried it. I remember I was on Instagram. I was searching something and my ex's name popped up. And it could have been so easy for me to just click, but I was like, no, I closed out Instagram and went about my business because I was just like, God did that. If you try to do this healing on your own, if you try to just, be with someone else, you're going to cause more pain. You're going to hurt someone else. And you're not going to truly be healed because you're going to keep falling back into the same cycle. I feel like a lot of times we get into the same cycle of relationship after relationship, heartbreak after heartbreak, because we have not truly allowed God to heal that part of our heart that we keep hiding from Him. No. You have to let Him get all up in your heart and fix what you have been withholding from Him. I didn't get with someone else. I didn't try to flirt with someone else. I didn't just try to just have a good time. No. I truly gave it to God and I truly realized that He has good things planned for me and I don't need to stress, worry, or fear, but I just need to continue walking in His purpose. So the last thing that I will say is, and I kind of said this before, but just always remember that marriage isn't the end goal in life and that once you are married, you have made it in life. No. Christ is the goal. Christ is your reward. God is your everything. Make sure that Jesus is at the center of your life and let Him take care of the rest. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I feel like I really should. I know this is a long video and that's okay. That's okay. But I just want to pray for individuals who are dealing with heartbreak and to just pray that you truly surrender that to God and that He heals you and that you're not going to be in this forever. I know what it's like to feel like you're going to have that pain forever. But now I truly know what it's like to have freedom and I want you all to experience that. So let's just close your eyes and yeah. God, I just truly thank you for this day. God, I just truly thank you for just allowing me to have this moment to share my testimony and to share how you truly worked in my life and how you truly healed me from my heartbreak. God, right now I pray that you would just touch every single individual watching this video who is dealing with heartbreak. Lord God, I pray that you would just allow them to open their heart so that you can go in and that you can heal their broken pieces. I pray that you will help them to understand, to know that only you, Lord God, are their healer and that they don't need to reach out to other sources, but to know that you are the true source of healing. God, I pray for the individual who has given up, who feels like they're going to live with this pain forever, that you would just go into their hearts and that you would just help them to know that this is not going to be a pain that they're going to have forever. I pray that you will help to change minds right now and that you will help to change perspective right now to know that the breakup had purpose and that you will help to push them into their purpose and allow them to know that this breakup was necessary for their growth in you so that they can draw closer to you and draw closer to your word. I pray that you would just touch their hearts right now to know that they are of value and to know that they are a prize. God, I pray that they would just pursue after you more than they pursue after a marriage or a courtship. And that I pray that you would just not allow them to fall into society standards, regardless of their age, regardless of how they look, regardless of their career, but to just know that your plans are higher than any of our plans. To know that your timeline is not our timeline. So I pray that when society standards, when people standards, when the pressure from peers or individuals is weighing heavy that you would just lighten that burden and that you would just remind them that you, Lord God, are their Father, that you are their healer, that you are their protector, and that you have good things planned for them. God, I pray for healing right now. I pray for healing right now, that they will let go of that pain, that they will let go of that fear, and they will let go of that hurt, and know that that doesn't have to control their life, and that you, Lord God, are truly their good, good Father. God, I just pray for just release right now, and that you would just work right now, Lord Jesus. So you would just work in their hearts right now to surrender that pain, to surrender that hurt, and that they don't need to be hurt forever. But Lord God, that you are truly healing them right now, Lord God. I pray that they will believe and that they will have faith in you to know that you are doing it and that they cannot do it on their own. I pray all these things not in my name, but in your wonderful Son, Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen. I really hope that this video was helpful and that you received something from it. God is going to do it. God is seriously going to do it. And I am just still in awe that he has, like, some of y'all know the struggle I went through, the tears I cried, the hurt I was dealing with. God is gonna do it. He's gonna do it, and I don't want any of you to give up hope, but to know that he's truly, truly working. Comment below your testimony, encourage someone else, and encourage me, because even though you are healed, sometimes memories pop in your head. Yeah, that's it. Y'all already know the deal. You can comment below or you can email me at behismasterpiece@gmail.com. I hope you have a great day. I hope you experience true and genuine healing. Go out, be kind, be caring, be loving, and as always, be his masterpiece. Bye, y'all.